Okay, I say yes because, well, first of all, I'm a Christian, so I believe it is a sin to get high. So, like, I'm not saying, we should get high. But I also say marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. Alcohol is actually, like, probably one of the most destructive drugs out there, and it just happens to be legal. It's socially acceptable. But I think it would also, like, a lot of tax money, a lot of states would get tax money. I think it would actually, like, hurt the cartels that come up from Mexico. There's a lot of people that, sell it, possess it, that go to prison. We're paying for those people to be in prison just for marijuana.
Oh, well, I'm going to start mine off using your analogy. You said that alcohol is the most destructive and it happens to be illegal. Well, what if it's the most destructive because it's illegal? So what if legalizing marijuana is just going to be opening up the floodgates to make it just as destructive as alcohol or more?
I've had a lot of stoner friends, and they're always like, well, if the government does legalize it, then they're just going to tax it and make money off of it and legalize or levelize it to where you can't get high anymore, and it's going to suck. So then they were just going to have to come up with our own illegal version anyways. So, it's okay. So,
yeah, I feel like this is what I ask myself. If someone I know or myself is like, the doctor's like, hey, this is what you should do, then, I'm going to feel probably different about the issue. I agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of people would use that as an excuse, or a lot of people fight or play the green card. Here's my card. You can't touch me. This is what I'm doing. I'm just doing this to get high.
The thing that I would have to say with the whole freedom deal. So let's say, okay, we'll use since Donald Trump is a huge politician right now. He's got a huge empire of real estate that he has a multi-billion-dollar company. Let's say that I built my way up selling cocaine and I have a multi-billion-dollar company, but I strictly sell it. I don't use it for any purposes, but I raise my kids correctly with the money that I generate through it. Is that still representative of freedom? Because I'm not using it for bad things. I'm just a distributor for a hardcore drug that destroys everything it touches.
If you look at how many arrests there were for just marijuana users, I was reading there's like 750,000 in 1 year. People were arrested. And if you look at that, like, do we not have bigger fish to fry with like murders and like terrorism and other things out there?
I would say I'm in favor of legalizing marijuana because people are going to do what they want to do anyway. You can't force somebody to do something or not do something. People have free will to choose things, whether they know it's bad for them or not. The biggest issue for me, too, is all of the drug violence. There are so many people killed every single day through drug trafficking, human trafficking. The drug cartels have such a hold. And then there's it seems like a never-ending war. Never-ending war. Like, where does it end? Billions of dollars are spent every year, taxpayers' dollars on trying to eradicate these things.
But I think to be around people in that lifestyle is amazing, because you wouldn't understand, like, people that are on here, up here, like, when you're stoned, like, your mind is just open to all these different things. So what I'm saying is Christians shouldn't smoke pot to get high. They shouldn't smoke at all, honestly. But to be around stoners and hang out with stoners, like, I think that's an amazing discipleship, because they will talk about God, they'll talk about the stars, they'll talk about the Cheeto, and they'll talk about the potato salad, whatever.
One of the things that I'm kind of like passionate about, and not to change subjects, but it kind of falls in with this, so just bear with me for a second. But abortion, in my opinion, is murder. Okay. However, for the greater good of America and our world, I would gladly say, okay, abortion is okay in the sense of someone who got raped. I still think it's wrong. I still think it's horrible. But if you look at statistics, like less than 1% of people who have an abortion are having an abortion because they were raped. If I could eliminate 99% of the abortions in America by saying, okay, we're going to allow abortion because of rape, in the case of rape only, then to me, that's a greater good for America. And so I think with legalizing marijuana, it kind of comes down to a greater good in a sense.
So, like, isn't morality morality? Is there bigger morality and little morality? Like, is there worse and then not as worse? Isn't there right and wrong? So what I'm saying is, like, even if it is just a little wrong based on your argument, if it's wrong, shouldn't we uphold morality?
Well, I think some things should be treated differently, punishment-wise. If you steal a can of beer at a convenience store, like biblically, you should pay the owner back and then work for him for I don't know how long. But I mean, but then if you kill somebody, that's a bigger deal, you know. Yes, they're both wrong, but I think there are levels. I mean, obviously, in God's eyes, if we're talking about salvation, that's different. Everything matters. But like, when it comes to like, you know, the law and like how you punish crime and things like that, yeah, there are crimes that should be punished worse than others.
Right. So I agree with that too. There's some that should be punished more and some that should be punished less. If what you're saying is marijuana should be punished less than something that's murder, well, it still has to be illegal for us to punish it. So it should still be illegal.
Well, yeah, I don't think you should punish people for getting high, though. 'Cause, I mean,
Right,
I do think it's a sin. I think in God's eyes, He doesn't approve of it. I don't either. Like, I don't approve of people getting high. But I don't think, it's like you said, I mean, I know there are some drugs I would say we should never allow. But, I mean, people are going to sin. And, you know, like, people are going to get drunk. People are going to get high. And I don't think it should be a crime to get high or get drunk.
So you don't think that our civilized law that we construct as a society should reflect the moral law that God has placed over us?
Oh,
Well, there's a comment here that's saying laws and morals aren't the same thing. For example, the Holocaust was legal. Morality doesn't equate to law.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying is like, but wait a second, isn't that the whole idea of what law is supposed to be? Like we construct these laws as to be written codes based on an internal moral standard that we all have inherent inside of us, given to us by God. So our written law is supposed to be reflective of the internal moral law that's over top of, that encompasses everything.
But people are still going to abuse stuff. So, like, I still don't think that marijuana should be a crime, even biblically, because it can be used for medical uses. But people can still abuse that. I mean, that's still, you know, their choice to abuse it. I don't think alcohol should be illegal. I mean, Jesus turned water into wine. I'm not saying Jesus wanted people to get drunk, but I don't think alcohol and marijuana should be a crime.
One of the things that really, really ticks some guys off who have grown up in atmospheres and urban settings where that was really a part of the culture and part of their, you know, the family business almost, you know, and at times the only way for them to avoid, well, seemingly in their minds, especially at, you know, 15, 16 years old and being on the street, one of the only ways that they saw that they could make money to be able to, you know, to create some sense of something in their life. How frustrating it is to those guys to have been criticized their entire life for doing that, and as soon as the government starts to do it, it's not only okay, but it's heralded as being this awesome thing that the government is doing and our country is doing. And our you know, the guys who are doing massive prison time, who they had this idea first, and they were just doing it just to try to survive, right?
So they need to be the presidents of those companies.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so our government's doing it, so like, oh, our country's getting rich now, it must be okay. But when the poor guy who was on the street, who was selling it just to make enough to be able to get something to eat, then it was, you know, incredibly wrong. I just think that's a really interesting dynamic to the conversation.